Hey there everyone, this is Cow playing a little bit, not playing anything at all. Yeah, so you might have noticed, but my 2 hour long recording session for Hyper-V gave me about 5 minutes of usable footage. So I figured, since I don't want to just leave you all with just that, I'd make a little bit of a, yet another bonus thing. Now, one of my most, what's the word I'm looking for here? One of my most requested feature for these little, oh hey, here is something videos is to, draw and color a complete atxs page. The problem is I don't kind of want to do that for the simple reason that that would make a very large file. It's not that it's a problem with my computer anymore, but okay, yes I am. Not that it's a problem for my computer anymore or anything, but it would be a problem for a file. Just because I got a better computer doesn't mean I still don't have my limited internet, and a file that big, like so large, because I always work, on atxs in full screen, and it just would be too big. It'd drain up all my bandwidth because of the size, and that's the problem, I can't just go and upload super giant files because my internet is still my internet. It ain't free, yo. So there we go. So instead, I've made here this little. It's sort of like it's not a real panel. It's like a demonstrative panel. It's sort of like an imitation panel, just for the sake, the experiment, just to show y'all how I go about making an atxs panel. Now, if you notice, I typically always do my line art by hand, on paper, ink on paper. I just feel that just flows a lot smoother, and it goes a lot faster. I got more control over my lines, and with the stylus, I find that very useful for painterly-like techniques. I find that useful for coloring, but for line work, I don't know. I'm not big on the yield stylusy. It's a useful tool, but it's not like a big omni tool, and there is no such thing. Most things, it's like, do you want to invest on something, a tool that will do everything decently, or do you want to invest in a multitude of tools that are all expert at a certain task, but however require more, except they only do that one thing. And that's a common problem. No matter what you're doing, it's always a sort of balance you got to strike, because a dedicated tool, well, I say you will always perform better, but that's not necessarily the case too, which makes this more complicated, because still then, from what I heard, like if you want to say a Blu-ray player, a PlayStation 3 is still one of the best options you can have, and that's not a dedicated. Well, I suppose it is dedicated in the sense that the games are on Blu-rays, so I don't know. I think I just entered myself in a domain that I don't know, so I'm just gonna shut up about that right now. So yeah, so yeah, as you can see, basically I'm just starting off by filling in the blanks. It's pretty great. It's I have a multiplying layer for the line work, so I can just color everywhere, and I can overlap the lines all the time, because that's what you want to do. It's a lot simpler that way. It's okay if I go a bit over on the edge. So this is Squish. She is a character from the comic atxs. I drew her here for the demo panel because, I don't know, I'm drawing her a lot these days, because that's where we are in what we're doing in the comic right now, I suppose. And also, given enough time, maybe. Thing is, right now I'm only basically just coloring. I suppose, okay, there's something people might say, like if you ask an illustrator will often tell you to actually start by coloring the backgrounds before coloring the foreground, like in the characters, because one will always influence the other. Like if you're drawing like a picture, and you gotta have a background going on, you kind of want to work on them simultaneously, because one will affect the other. there are certain like certain situations where that's not necessarily as cut and dry. For example, like here while making a comic, characters have a specific color unless you're changing things around for purposes of like amplifying drama or playing with light a lot. This is like a basic stage lighting panel. Characters have their own color. Like you'll even probably want to have color swatches for specific characters to use basically the same coloration when you can, for the sake of continuity. So in that case, yes, it's another balance you gotta strike. You gotta strike between staying faithful to continuity, but also making an image that makes sense. Of course, that's something you want to look into when you do the actual setting and character design, to make sure that the cheap colors and all that match, for lack of a better word. So yeah, now I'm gonna move on to the crazy background. It's not a real background. It's one of more like those prop backgrounds, or rather, an effect background. Why I didn't draw? I probably should have used a real background, because those I actually tend to do chiefly on the direct on Photoshop and not with that much line art. But I already drew all these squiggly lines, so now I'm feeling kind of... Oh wait, I think I know what I'm going to do. I think I know what I'm going to do. I know, it's incredible. Knowledge sometimes comes to me in the form of impulses, amongst all my brain winkles. Now I'm kind of like about halfway time, maybe. So I gotta hurry up a little bit. A panel, it takes the time that it takes to color. I try to... again, style, it's finding a balance between making a good image and having enough of a stylization to be interesting visually, but also to give you enough shorthands to be able to create enough pages for a given amount of time. I mean, it's sad to say, but that's a big part of cartoons and stuff. The reason why stylization exists, it's so you can actually draw faster. Most of a lot of cartoon tropes exist for that, in order to speed things along, to make the process of drawing a little more effective, basically. So I'm putting some yellow here. It's pretty great. I know yellow is a color that like before last year I didn't even know it exists, but then it bit me. I was like, oh dude, I got bit by the yellow, and then I created a viral video about that, and I took the internet by storm, but under a different name, because I was all like, I was afraid to make all the canaries out there in the woods, watching my videos right now jealous, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. So I created an alternate persona where basically I kind of let fame grow to my head, and I got I let different colors bite me and otherwise cause physical harm to my person in order to bask in the internet popularity. It was really groovalicious. So right here I'm kind of drawing over my dead body. I don't know how it managed to get there, in the form of yellow, but it's okay. So I'm kind of running out of time, so now let's pretend I'm doing currently in all the pages I'm drawing a lot of tall hair. So what I do is I add a color over the color, want to add some color over the color, and in the end doesn't even mix up all that well. That's just crazy, because I'm using Photoshop rather than something like one of those dedicated canvas programs. Can you take a darker, then you just make some lines, then you just make some lines all over the place. And sometimes you can look at a line straight in the eye and say, hey buddy, how about you and me share the secrets that we have mastered, once we were done with elementary school. But most of the time I kind of forget. I forget what I learned when. For some reason, my brain decided that wasn't important information to retain, and so I am left, in this sort of void of wondering when or how exactly did I learn all these things that I just blatantly take for granted, and it makes me quite not that sad, actually, because I don't tend to really think about it. So let's pretend that's the background, and then it's, you know, we want to make things a little pretty, so we put some black. No, I gotta put all of Montreal is contained within a single drop of honey. This is what people at New Hampshire University discovered last Christmas, and you know, they only remembered that they didn't notice, like they didn't mention that to anyone like a couple of days ago. It was kind of you know, it's one of those moments that you're kind of ashamed to admit it, but at the same time, if you want to be able to progress forward, you don't have the choice but to kind of like bite your pride a little bit and tell it to behave, because otherwise, you know, there's gonna be trouble. And no, never trouble unless trouble troubles you, to quote a famous quote that is a quote also known as something that someone said. So this page, I guess even a panel such as small as this one, 15 minutes isn't enough to convey kind of like completely the entire process of what goes on in making the thing. Because I still got to make all my drop shadows, still got to make all my highlights. It's crazy. I guess I never noticed how long making panels could take. It's something, I guess, you know, take for granted. I've been working on this comic, different stages of it, for quite a while. Although, like the early pages were awful, and the techniques I'm using here have nothing on the techniques I used back then. Although I don't think I'm using the correct expression here, like I'm saying it backwards. Like if something has nothing on something, it means that it's bad compared to, which is not what I'm trying to say. So so ignore that, please. And forgot this here, and then, you know, her little fluffy color. I got a cover like that. It's quite an amazing piece of milk that does not taste very good, so you kind of want to mix it with bread. I don't know what kind of food you call that, but it is now the food that you eat. Maybe? I don't know. I'm not a fan of cheese. I cannot eat cheese very well. That has nothing to do with what I just said there, but no, it just has to be mentioned. Things which you know had to be fermented are things that my stomach does not enjoy containing, and so may expel it forcefully throughout the entrance in which it came. In other words, the bouncer of my stomach just won't let it in, period. I suppose this is I'm not playing anything. Stop saying your plan. Stop your games there, okay? You should not expose the people for the truth that they are, in order to sit back and enjoy this schadenfreude. Schadenfreude? That's a weird word. Germans, y'all have weird words. That's the lesson. Then, you know, you can do like, whoa, you're moving along, la 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 la. I don't know. That's what I kept playing. Playing Photoshop Element 7.0. It's quite an awesome game. Y'all should play this game, although it involves a lot of memorization. So be aware. This is Raocow. Bonus material related things. Yo.